Hello everyone, welcome to Surendra English classes. Today I will talk about verbs and with their kinds and the change of forms. Okay, now first look about the definitions of verb. Verb is a word which shows action, possession, relations or state of being. Okay, for example, children play. That shows the actions. Play is a verb that shows the actions. Next is I have a car. That shows the relations and possessions. And third one is they are happy. That shows the state of being. Okay, now we'll talk about the kinds of verbs. There are the two kinds of verb, main verb and helping verbs. Okay, and the main verbs are divided into the two kinds. First is transitive verb and the next is intransitive verb. Okay, now first main verb. The verb used alone or together with the helping verbs are called the main verbs. For example, I am reading. Your reading is a main verb. Okay, and next is I am a boy. After the main verbs, next is helping verb. A helping verb is one which helps the main verb to form a tense, voice, mood. Okay. For example, I am reading. Here am is a helping verb. Okay. Now just write down. There are the 24 helping verbs and auxiliary verbs. Okay. That is use am, do, does, did, was, were, have, as, have, ठीक है, had, shall, will, can, could, may, might, must, ought, should, would, need, dare and used to. These are the 24 helping verbs that we use to make a tense, voice, and that is used also in the tense, voice and moods. Okay, and the next nota bene is, if in any sentence more than two verbs are used, then last verb will be main verbs and rest of helping verbs. For example, I have been reading. Here have and been is the helping verbs and reading is the main verb, because here in this sentence verbs are helping verbs are used more than two times. Okay, so this is the helping verbs and the main verb is once. Okay, that is reading. Okay, next is main verbs are divided into the two kinds, that is transitive verb and intransitive verb. That is very simple. If any sentence ends with the object, okay, with object is called the transitive verb and without object is called the intransitive verb. Okay, now look at transitive verb definitions. The verb is used with an object is called a transitive verbs. Okay, for example, Raz eats rice. Here rice is the object and okay, with object is called the transitive verb. Okay, and in this sentence Raz eats rice, there is a rice is a what is this is object, that's why Raz eats rice, this sentence is the transitive verb. Okay, the next one is I like these beautiful flowers. Okay, here beautiful flowers object, that's why this sentence is transitive verbs. Okay, now after the transitive verbs, now next is intransitive verb. Definition is the verb used without an object is called the intransitive verb. For example, I ate. Okay, I ate. Here it is an intransitive verb. You know why is intransitive verb? Because there is no object, that's why this is called the intransitive verb. If I write here I ate a mango, and that will be, then mango will be object. Okay, that's why that becomes intransitive verb. But I ate, in this sentence there is no object, that's why this is called the intransitive verb. Okay, now the transitive and intransitive verb definition is very simple. When transitive verb comes with the object and intransitive verb without object is called the intransitive verb. Okay, that's very simple to keep it in your mind. Okay, now after the kinds of verbs, I will talk about the verb forms. Okay, according to the tense there are three kinds of verb, that is present, past and past participles. Two more forms are also used, but sometimes that is present participles and verb as forms. Okay, and according to the forms there are the two kinds of verbs, that is regular verb and weak verbs, and irregular verbs and strong verbs. You can say regular verbs or weak verbs, okay, or irregular or strong verbs. Okay. Now definitions of regular verbs. In these words in these verbs we can use d or ed to change the past to past participles. This is a very simple rule. So when we add just a d or ed to change the form, that is called the regular verbs. But in the irregular verbs we can't change the forms just by using d or ed. That's why that is called the irregular verbs. Okay, now just see the examples of regular verbs. If you write love, that is the verb first form. Okay, love, and if we change in the verb second form, that becomes the loved. Just adding the ed, that becomes the past. Okay, and the third form is the loved and past participle, just adding the ed. Okay, and if we write in the present participle, then have to use ing, loving, and the fifth form is the loves. Okay. Okay, now there is some rules to how to change their forms of verbs. And the first rule is, if the verb last word e later e, then we can add just d or ed to change the forms. For example, in the letters of in the words of advice, we have when we have to change their forms, then have to use just d letter, and it will change the forms. Advise, advise, and advise. Okay, the next rule is, when the verb last letter consonant plus y, okay, then we have to write I in the place of y, and then we can add ed for change their forms. For example, if the word is cry, here last letter is y, so when we have to change their forms, we have to replace the y letter, and in the place of y we have to write I. Okay, and after we have to add just ed to change their forms. It's, and that will become the cry, cried, and cried. Okay, next rule is, if the last letter vowel plus consonant, then we have to double the consonant letters and then add ed for change the forms. Examples: stop, stop, here the last two letters are the vowel plus consonant, o and p. Okay, when we have to change the forms, then last we have to just double the last consonant letter, that is p. So just we have to double the two consonants letters, that is p, then we write the p. Okay, and then we add just ed to change their forms. Stop, stop, and then stop. Okay, and the last one is, there are the some verbs that will not change their forms, and you can also say that these are the irregular verbs, because we can't use in irregular verbs d or ed. Okay, and these are the some verb forms that will not change their forms, that is cut, cut, cut. Okay, and put, 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 read, 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 set, 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 and set, set, set. Okay.